Hey y'all, welcome back to Homemade Simple. If we've not met before, I'm Lori. I love to share videos each week about homemaking and frugal living. Today I am at Walmart. If you've seen some of my previous videos, you know that I sort of have a love-hate relationship with Walmart. But this particular Walmart is in a small town close to my house. It is not like the others. It is actually pretty pleasant to go into. So I'm going to run in. I have my meal plan and my grocery list all made out for a budget-friendly but not restrictive meal plan. So I'm hoping that this will come in under $100 if I am able to feed good nutritious food to my family and it costs $100. I will totally feel like that's a win. So hopefully we have enough in the budget to cover all of the options that I have listed. I will give you a screenshot of the menu plan and also my grocery list, and I'm going to run in and see how quick I can get these groceries purchased. Shop all by myself today because Lane has been running a fever. I'm not sure what's wrong with him, but he just has not been feeling great. So Chris stayed home with him and I'm just going to do a loner shop today. So good. I've gotten everything on my list that was in the produce section. I think I actually did get the very last head of cabbage. So I hope nobody else is coming in here needing some cabbage. But I had to change a little bit of my plan. I wanted to get red potatoes, but the 5-pound bag of russet potatoes was cheaper than the 3-pound bag of red potatoes. So when we're shopping, that's one really good way for us to be more mindful and more conservative in the way that we spend our grocery budget, is to be willing to make some changes every now and then. Sometimes we can't have exactly what we want, but sometimes we can make substitutions and find things that are cheaper but equivalent, and that will really help us when we're trying to get the most bang for our grocery budget. That will really add up in the long run. You'll see that it's dark out and it was light when I went in, so I've been in there a while. It did take a little bit of time for me to find all of the things that I needed, and I did mosey a little. I didn't rush, but I was able to get all of the groceries that I needed for this week's meal plan, breakfast, lunch, and dinners, all for under $75. I'm really excited to share with you all of these recipes, and I'm really excited that I was able to come in under the $100 budget. I was really surprised because I did not expect that. I'm going to run home, feed everybody, get Lane in bed, and then tomorrow we will start building these recipes and making these meals. The first order of business this week is going to be to make our own vegetable broth. I could have bought vegetable broth, of course, at Walmart, but it's really simple to make, and this is a really good way to use up scraps and other things that we would otherwise just either throw away or throw to the chickens. So one of our recipes calls for several cups of broth. I'm going to go ahead and make that and put it on the stove to simmer for the rest of the afternoon. So we're going to start with a good helping of salt. If you can't have salt, just keep that out. And then I've cut off all of the ends of the celery that we purchased for some of our other recipes. I'm just gonna throw in all of the stuff that I would otherwise throw away. This is probably a cup or so of carrots. I've quartered up 1 whole onion, and I'm gonna throw that in there, and a couple of cloves of garlic. I've found this handy little thing. It's a garlic peeler. I found it at the thrift store, and I've never tried it before. I was going to show you how it works. So I just put the little piece of garlic in there and roll it, and it comes out peeled. Well, that's super simple. I didn't even know this existed, but it's definitely worth picking up if you find one at the thrift store. I'll try to find it on Amazon and link it in the description box. That way, in case you really think this is something useful and worth buying full price, you can go check it out. So I'm just gonna put the lid on and let this simmer into a vegetable broth. Now it's time to make our mushroom and rice soup. This is the recipe that we're using the vegetable broth in. So that vegetable broth is pretty much ready to use, and I'm going to heat up about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in my Dutch oven. Let that be heating while I chop up 1 pound of carrots and 1 onion. I also am going to add 2 small cloves of garlic. I've rinsed 1 pound of fresh mushrooms. I try not to get them saturated with water, but with the recent scare about the food poisoning being from mushrooms, I wanted to be really careful. So now I'm just gonna slice these while the vegetables are softening. I just cut off the very bottom of it and discarded those hard parts of the stems, but I kept all of the rest. The vegetable broth has been cooking all afternoon, and it looks really good and hearty. It's been smelling the house up too, so I know that we're on the right track. I've got a sifter here, and I'm just going to try to pour the broth through the sifter into the measuring bowl. I need 5 cups. Okay, that's right at 5 cups, so that's perfect. So I'm going to clean up my mess, and then I will pour this into the pot as soon as the vegetables soften up a bit. I have 1 cup of rice, or 5 cups of vegetable broth. I'll stir all of that together. I'm gonna add about 1/2 tablespoon of salt, a couple of shakes of pepper, stir that in. I've got about a teaspoon or so of Italian seasoning. I'm going to simmer this on the stove until dinner time, so it'll probably simmer here for about an hour. The soup turns out really good. It smells really good. I think it's gonna taste really yummy. But I decided to take some of the chicken that I had bought at Walmart. There was a 10-pound bag for $6.99. So I decided to just take some of that chicken and add it to the soup to give it a little more staying power. That's totally optional. And there's the final product. Kelsey made some bread today, so we decided to put that in with the soup and add it as a side dish. I will leave Kelsey's recipe for her homemade French bread down below. If you don't have the ingredients this time, maybe you can go and pick them up for your next week's dinner plan. Next up, we're going to make a really simple and easy 1 skillet dinner. I got this head of cabbage. I'm just going to slice it up. First thing I'm going to do is try to get the core out. If you have chickens, they love cabbage, so save that for them. We'll put that to the side. And then we'll just chop up this cabbage into fairly small pieces, but it doesn't have to be uniform. I've taken my turkey kielbasa sausage and cut it up as thinly as I could into round discs. I have a tablespoon of olive oil heating in a iron skillet, and I got the deepest iron skillet that I could find in my cabinet so that the cabbage doesn't just flop out onto the stove. You just use the best you can. If you have a Dutch oven, if you have a stock pot, whatever works best for you. This oil is nice and heated. You can see that it's sort of shimmering, and so that's when you know it's time to throw in your sausage. The sausage has gotten nice and brown, and so now it's time to add the cabbage. If you can put a lid on this and let it simmer down a bit, it'll be easier to stir. So I'm just gonna put a lid on for a few minutes and let it cook down. I'm gonna add some pepper. This is a totally optional ingredient, but it just seems to add a good bit of flavor. I think it needs about 2 teaspoons of salt just to bring out more of the cabbage flavor. Again, salt is a completely optional ingredient. If you have dietary restrictions, you can just leave that out, but I just really like to salt my food. Okay, I think it's all done. You can cook this cabbage down as much as you want to. I want to try to leave it with a little bit of body to make it stretch a little further. But it's your choice. If you want to cook it all the way down, that's good too. We're gonna make some sausage and biscuits this morning. I thought we would have a treat since Chris is home. We'll just let that sausage cook and we'll start on our biscuits. So I've used 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to use 2.5 tablespoons of baking powder. I'm going to put in about a tablespoon of salt, and I'm going to mix these dry ingredients together to make sure that everything is well combined. I'm going to use some bacon grease that I have saved when we've had bacon. If you ever make bacon, always save it, put it in the refrigerator in a mason jar, put the lid on it, and you can use it for making biscuits or for seasoning your green beans. It's really good flavor, so don't just pour it out. You can use it. So I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of this bacon grease. Now, if you don't have bacon grease, you can use any other kind of oil. My other go-to would be coconut oil. If you don't have that, save the grease from your sausage and just use that. This is where that pastry blender that my mom got me is gonna come in handy. You can use a fork, you can use your spoon, or if your mom got you a pastry blender, you can use that. One thing about trying to really extend your budget when you talk about groceries is to be able to learn how to manage the ingredients that you have and use them for the meals that you need them to work in. So when we bought our groceries, we bought this half and half. And we bought it for several recipes, but it's more than I need. So if I don't have any milk, I can just mix half of this half and half water to incorporate into the biscuit mix to bring it all together, and it will taste amazing. Use what you have. If you have buttermilk, that tastes even better. But I'm just going to use the fresh milk that I have in the refrigerator. But again, if you don't have any milk, it's okay. Anything that's going to bring this dough together is going to work. I'm going to just use regular milk because thanks to Hazel, our cow, we have plenty of milk. I'm not going to really measure it. I'm just going to pour it in and see how it incorporates. that's good enough. We're not going for perfection. We're just trying to get it good and incorporated, and now we're going to sort of ball them up, pat them into biscuit shapes, and then put them on our baking sheet. I'm going to put these in a 350-degree oven. It'll probably take them about 10 minutes to bake, and while they're baking, maybe the sausage will finish up. Okay, here's our breakfast. Really yummy looking biscuits. They came out really good and tall. These are gonna be really good. And the sausage to go inside of them. I'm really looking forward to sausage and biscuit breakfast. It is one of my favorites and so super simple and affordable. Next, we're gonna make a ham and potato casserole. I'm going to take the bones out, cut most of the fat off, and then chop this ham into small cubes for our casserole. The next ingredient that we need to prepare is our potatoes. The more potatoes that we have in this meal, the further it will go, so we can use it for at least one lunch as well as one dinner if we have enough potatoes. So put as many as you can, and that way it will go as far as possible. This recipe also calls for cream of chicken soup. We've gone over this in a previous video. I'll link that video here. What we're gonna do instead of buying cream of chicken soup is we're just gonna sort of make our own thickener with our chicken broth that we made using the leg quarters. So I have put 1/2 cup flour and 2 cups chicken broth. It's not an exact science. It's just sort of whatever makes the right consistency that you're looking for. Put a little salt in it, put a little pepper in it if you want. We can even add some Italian seasoning to this because we're gonna put Italian seasoning in our casserole as well. So I'm just gonna shake a little bit of Italian seasoning in there. Keep this stirred, and when it thickens up, then we can add it to our casserole. I have chopped up 4 ounces of cream cheese. I'm gonna melt this in this cream of chicken mixture, and then we're going to add it to the vegetables and ham. Now it's time to put all the ingredients together. So I have all of my chopped up potatoes. I have the ham that I have diced. I'm also going to add 1 container of frozen sweet peas, and I'm going to pour in the cream of chicken mixture. I'll stir that around, and then we're going to put it in our 9x13 casserole dish, bake it in the oven at 375 for an hour and 15 minutes. The potato ham bake has baked in the oven about an hour and 15 minutes at 375 for the potatoes to get nice and done. I'm going to sprinkle some shredded cheese. This is 4 ounces of shredded cheese. So I'm going to throw this in the oven for probably 5 to 10 minutes and let the cheese melt, and then it'll be ready to eat. For supper tonight, we're going to have a baked chicken in the oven. I'm going to cook it in the Dutch oven. You can cook this chicken in the crock pot, maybe even in the Instant Pot. I'm just gonna cook it in the oven tonight. I think it's really gonna turn out good in the Dutch oven. I think it would turn out really good in the crock pot too. So I'm gonna show you how to throw this roasted chicken together, then we're gonna throw it in the oven and forget about it while it's cooking and have a really nice hearty meal for this cold winter evening. Those of you who have budding chefs will probably be able to relate to this situation, but I had bought, y'all saw that, right? That I bought a 5-pound bag of potatoes. Well, those have all been used, and they've not all been used in our recipes that I'm trying to show y'all for this week. So I'm not really sure what happened to them, but we are going to have to use these less than fresh potatoes. We're going to do the best that we can, and hopefully they will turn out okay. We're going to take these 4 potatoes. I've washed them. We're going to slice them and put them on the top. So that's going to be the last part of our recipe. But now I need to chop up our celery, carrots, and onion. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to clean the chicken and get it ready to go in the pot, and then we will take care of these squishy potatoes. Burning from those onions, but now I have 1 cup celery, 1 cup carrots, and 1 cup onions, all sliced up and ready to go. Now I'm going to clean off my leg quarters. I'm going to take the skin off, clean it really good, and I'm going to try to debone this chicken so that my family doesn't see the bones. If your family are carnivores that don't mind seeing the bones on their chicken, skip this step. But I have some pretty sensitive children, and they don't like to see, well, as a matter of fact, I don't really like to see bones in my chicken either. So we're just going to cut the meat off of the bones, and then we're going to put it into our Dutch oven. Okay, I'm gonna put my chicken in the bottom of the pan. This was 4 whole leg quarters that I tried to take out of the bones, so that's why it doesn't look like much. I did the best I could, but I didn't do good. So I'm gonna put that there and wash my hands. I'm gonna sprinkle salt on that, 1/2 to 1 whole teaspoon. Shake some pepper, and then some of our Italian seasoning. Just shake some of that, maybe 1 whole teaspoon. We want this to be really nice and flavorful. I'm doing it on the chicken so that the chicken can have plenty of flavor. Now I'm going to mix the vegetables up and pour those on top of the chicken. Now I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit more salt, a little more pepper, and a little more seasoning. If you don't like Italian seasoning, you can use poultry seasoning. You can use really anything that you want. Now I'm gonna slice these potatoes and put them on the top of the other vegetables. And the last ingredient is 2 cups of the chicken broth. I'm just gonna pour this on top of the potatoes. I'm gonna place the lid on here, and I'm gonna bake this covered in a 350-degree oven for 45 minutes just to make sure all of the flavors roast and meld together. I'll check the chicken, make sure it's nice and done and that all of the vegetables are soft. If I need more time, I'll adjust it. To go with our chicken, I'm gonna roast some broccoli in the oven. For our family, we always need 2 bags of broccoli. If you have a smaller family, just 1 will do. Add about a tablespoon of oil, just whatever oil you have will be fine. Sprinkle about a tablespoon of salt. Stir it to coat the broccoli with the oil. Spread it on a cookie sheet. Try to thin it out so that it's just 1 layer. And then we're gonna cook this in a 425-degree oven for about 20 minutes. You'll be able to tell when it's done because the florets will start turning a dark brown, and that's when it's done. And here it is, all done. Let's see how it plates up. Now it's time to make our breakfast, and the main thing that we're gonna have for breakfast this week is grits, and there are several different ways that we can make grits. I'm going to add some cheese this morning. You can also just add a little bit of salt and pepper. Because I'm from the South, like my grits sweet, so a lot of times I will add a little bit of salt and probably too much sugar, and that's the way that I really prefer to eat grits. But today I thought that to add a little bit of protein and a whole lot of flavor, we would add some shredded sharp cheddar to our grits. So that's what we're going to do this morning. This is going to be the majority of our breakfasts this week, and it's simply because a huge bag was really inexpensive at Walmart for the grits that I bought, and so that just really is going to stretch our grocery dollar a lot. And I find that people don't really care if there's not a lot of variety for breakfast. So if it's something that we like and something that will last us until at least until snack time, but preferably until lunch, people don't really care if it's the same thing over and over again. So that's what we're going to do this morning, make us some cheese grits, and then we will be ready for our day. Okay, the water is boiling. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, and to my 6 cups of water, I'm going to add 1.5 cups of grits. And I'm just going to stir these up, keep them stirred so they don't stick to the bottom until they are nice and thickened. The grits are boiling, they're nice and thick. This is where we stop if we're going to add salt and pepper, if we're going to add butter and sugar. This is all you have to do. So we'll remove the heat, and for our cheese grits, I'm going to add about 1 cup for our 6 servings. I buy the whole block of cheese as much as I can, because when you buy cheese pre-shredded, it has an anti-caking agent in it, and it really prevents your cheese from melting like you want it to. That is why you will always see me buying the block cheese and grating it myself. I have a shredder that I use all the time that attaches to my KitchenAid. I will link that in the description box below, so that if you want to look at that, you can check it out on Amazon. That is all there is to it. That 1 cup of shredded cheese really flavored the entire 6 serving pot of grits, and so I am starving and ready to eat. I'm going to go and make me some coffee, enjoy this hearty breakfast, and then get ready for supper by putting together our next recipe. We have 2 meals this week that are going to call for navy beans. So I'm going to cook my beans in the Instant Pot. If you don't have an Instant Pot, no worries. There's directions on the bag for a quick soak and also an overnight soak. Just follow the directions on the bag to do it overnight or like throughout the morning, and then you can have them ready for the evening meal. I've filled up my Instant Pot probably halfway full. It doesn't really matter how much water you put, it's just as long as you put enough. So because we're going to use these for several different meals, I'm going to pour the whole bag in. Now, real cooks would put these in a strainer, rinse them really good. That's what you're really supposed to do. I'm not going to do that, but just know that's really what you're supposed to do. I'm going to season these with about a tablespoon of salt. I'm just going to put the lid on, turn it on. There's already a bean setting. I'm going to press that, and then they will be done in 30 minutes or less. The first dinner we're going to make with our navy beans is a campfire supper. It is super easy, a crock pot meal. You can also make this on the stove top, but it was really easy to put together in my crock pot. I just mixed together 3/4 cup water, 4 tablespoons molasses, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 1 can of tomatoes that I drained the juice out of. I put in 1 chopped onion, and then I gave that a good stir and added 1 pound of breakfast sausage that I had already browned previously. I also added 2 cloves of garlic, 1.5 tablespoons of salt, then 4 cups of navy beans that I had just cooked in the Instant Pot. Stir all of that together, put the lid on, and cook this on low for about 5 to 7 hours. If you're in a hurry, you can cook it on high for 3 to 4 hours. This was a really, really good dinner. We all really liked it. It has a little bit of spice from the breakfast sausage, but it's not overpowering, and it was just a really good, easy, but filling dinner that is perfect for a winter night. Our next recipe is going to be a ham pasta bake. I've already chopped about a pound or a pound and a half of that ham that we purchased. This is a 5-ounce wedge of Parmesan cheese. I've shredded that, and I've also shredded our mozzarella cheese. Those are good to go, and I have cooked a 1-pound package of spaghetti noodles. So now that all of those things are done and ready, it's time for us to make our Alfredo sauce. To make the sauce, I'm going to turn the burner on medium, and I'm going to add 3 cups of half and half and the shredded Parmesan cheese. Again, this is a 5-ounce wedge of fresh Parmesan cheese. It's better to do the fresh so that it will melt and incorporate into the half and half easier. I'm gonna add about 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning and just try to stir this regularly so that it doesn't scorch on the bottom. This is gonna be the sauce for the pasta bake. The cheese is melted now, so I'm going to take it off of the heat. So now I'm going to work at combining all of the ingredients for the casserole and then put it in the oven. I have a large mixing bowl to combine all of these ingredients. I've got the cooked spaghetti. You can get any kind of pasta for this, will work. Elbow macaroni probably would be better than the spaghetti, but it was 55 cents. I couldn't pass that price up, so I just went ahead and used the cheapest option. I have the cubed ham, and I'm gonna use maybe a cup of this mozzarella cheese, and then I'm going to pour this sauce and get it good and combined. I have my 9 by 13 baking dish here. I'm just gonna pour all of this in, and then I'm gonna top it with the rest of the cheese. I'm gonna put this in a 350-degree oven for 20 minutes. I really just want everything to sort of meld together and the cheese to be good and bubbly. Look at this delicious ham pasta bake. I am so excited about eating this. I have some Brussels sprouts cooking in the oven right now. When they're all cooked up, I will put it on a plate and we'll be ready for dinner. For our very last dinner, we're going to make a garden soup, and this soup is so full of so many vegetables, it is not going to even feel like you're eating on a budget this week. So I have a zucchini, a bell pepper, and an onion, and we're going to chop those up. Now I'm going to separate the bell peppers and the onions, and I'm going to just saute them in, it was probably a tablespoon of olive oil. Okay, those are good and soft, so now it's time to put the soup together. I'm gonna add 1 1/2 cup of our rice, 4 cups of the chicken broth that we made, 1 can of diced tomatoes, the zucchini that we cut up. I'm gonna add our onions and bell peppers. I love dump and go meals. Just makes life so much easier. I've got the bag of cut green beans that I bought. the frozen ones. I thawed those out just a little bit in the microwave. You can skip that step. I have about 2 cups of the navy beans left from when we made our campfire stew. I just reserved about 1.5 cups or 2 cups of those beans. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of pepper, about 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. We've used Italian seasoning a lot this week, and that's just to save on our overall cost. But if you have basil, if you have any other kind of seasoning that you might prefer, go ahead and add that. And then I have a little bit of chicken. Actually, this is a lot of chicken. This is probably at least 2 cups of chicken I have left from when we had our other meals. I cooked it up and had extra actually. So I'm just gonna put that in there to use it up so that it doesn't go bad. If you have used up all of your chicken and you don't have any left, no worries, it's totally fine. So I've given that a good stir. I'm going to put the lid on and let this cook. I think I'm gonna put this on high. I'm gonna leave it for about 3 hours or so and come and check it. Tried all of these meals that I've shown you this week. My family has really enjoyed all of them. We have really thought that they have been flavorful and a very good variety. So even if we're going to cook on a budget, even if we're going to really try to reduce the amount that we spend when we go to the grocery store, that doesn't mean that we have to sacrifice quality and flavor. I hope that you will try these recipes out in your kitchen with your family, and I hope that you will leave me a comment down below about which one was your family's favorite. I'm thankful that you are here. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and also be sure to share it with your friends and family who also might need this video to help curb some of their spending at the grocery store. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do that as well. Next week, I plan to do a video all about stocking your pantry and the cheapest and easiest ways to do that. So I hope you'll tune in next week for that video. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful week. I love you, and I will see you again next time.